This is Empire Sports Alliance, unfiltered. No fluff, no filters, just the real side of sports. We're talking athletes, coaches, agents, doctors, executives, the people behind the scenes who actually move the needle. From building careers to surviving the grind to winning off the field. This is where real conversations collide.
Welcome to another episode of Empire Sports Alliance Unfiltered. I'm Ronnie. I'm the wealth guy. Got my co-host Eric.
Hey everyone, Eric, sports chiropractic concierge service for you.
Awesome. And today we have Mike Calendrillo, founder and CEO of Afterburn Advisory. Mike, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks so much.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. So, Mike, normally we have mostly what we have on. Would you agree, Eric? In the athletes, directly athletes, youth, professional, retired, etc. So, with you, Mike, now this is going to be a little bit which Eric and I always talk about the business aspect of athletes, in terms of setting up their legacy, not when they're done playing, but during their playing career, making sure they're well prepared for the next phase of their career. So, with that, again, you founded Afterburn Advisory. If you wouldn't mind, kind of give us a little bit of background in terms of what your career looked like, your journey, and as well as, what Afterburn Advisory is all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I played college baseball 1,000 years ago, which is probably more like the early 2000s. And so from there, that I was a good player, but not quite good enough. And I realized that at a decent age. So again, the pivot started then. Always had, come from a family of entertainers, and so I actually had a record deal when I was in high school. Put that on hold to go to college, and then actually picked it up again once I decided to step away from ball playing in school. And so I was lucky enough to travel the country in a pop R&B group for about 5 years, and opened up for the likes of Lenny Kravitz and JC from NSYNC and Nick Cannon, and the list goes on. But it was a great experience. I got to do some really really cool things at a young enough age where anything I might have done is was okay. But again, we ran the gauntlet 5 years, and I learned all I possibly could about the music industry. And again, this was we're talking almost 20 years ago. Things have changed exponentially. But to the core of it, I think music is still very much a pay or play type of place. And then it seems like so many different aspects of sports and entertainment still are. So anyway, fast forward from there. Once the music kind of ran its course, what was a dream of mine to move out to California. Had to become the struggling actor, writer, producer that every kid in their 20s wants to be at one point. So yeah, moved out to LA, did that, and again, the more that I wanted to act, the more that I actually got some jobs writing and being behind the camera. So that was it was trial by fire, and was fortunate enough over the years to produce a number of shows, both off Broadway and then for film. I did a TV pilot for NBC. I did actually two of those. Did not get picked up, but again, another learning experience that you can't purchase. Did a number of shorts, had a film go to Sundance in 2012, and so it was kind of just again learning as I go, having mentors that obviously believed in me enough to give me a shot, and then again trying for me to pay that down forward. And so the old story: meet a girl, move back to your hometown of Florida, and decide, hey, actually, we want to go back to California. So we went back, did a couple things. Anyway, we're here in Orlando now. And since I've been back here in about 2015, I've worked in pro sports, and that's been pretty predominantly Orlando City SC, Orlando Magic. And then I worked with a VC company here, and it was my job to go ahead and work with the athletes. It was a fund of funds, multi-million dollars, but it was my job to brand them, to go ahead and tell their stories. What do they do off the field, their charities, their likes, their dislikes, work with their teams to further enhance their social platforms as well. And so, it was a great run. And again, having access to all of these leagues and associations and working with these people on a daily basis and putting on these giant activations. We did one at the Kia Center for, 250 plus shareholders and pro athletes. And it was incredible because again, you just can't get that type of access, just by, luck. So I kind of took the chance on myself. Became a point where a lot of business owners are like, hey, I'm tired of making everybody else money. I want to make some of my own. And I want to start my my own legacy. So I did that, and we closed our fund in what was it now, April of this year. Seed fund, enough for a good friend of mine who has since exited multiple companies to take a chance on me because he sees what we're trying to build here at Afterburn. And within the 3 months, we've had more traction than I can honestly say I ever expected, from all walks of life, executives, performers, and obviously pro athletes being kind of the sweet spot we're in right now. And we are just started production on. Actually, our team was in Cannes at Lion Sport, which was pretty incredible. That I didn't even understand till I really, tried to dive in. And Antoine Bethea being that principal, like 14-year pro, HBCU, 6th round guy, how he made his name in the sport, and just was a trailblazer. And again, he won a Super Bowl, Super Bowl 50, two-time Pro Bowler. And this guy, he still works out at the age of 41 like he's in the game at the age of 21. So he continues to be an inspiration. And so, we were brought in along with his right hand people in New York, and Terry Opang, who is just an amazing guy, to tell the story of how you can go from an A-list celebrity athlete to, yes, he owns businesses and he's wildly successful, and he was just honored in Newport News, Virginia, and people love this guy because he's just a good human. But now he's in a world where he's building AB 41 Media, and he is starting essentially back where he was when he first started, and before the glitz and the glamour. And so that's where Afterburn comes in, and we want to be able to tell the story of legacy. And so we've got a principal in Antoine who's just, I mean, he's all in. Like, you put a battery in this guy's back, and he just goes and goes and goes. And it's amazing to see because not everybody's built that way. But again, where you understand where he came from. So we are here to show this, and we're doing so in an episodic format. And we're going to show the progression of him starting out, having this amazing idea, who he talks to, who he integrates himself with. He's learning as he's going. Going to be in Fanatics Fest in New York in July, and continuing that conversation. And again, that's what we do. We produce, mini dramas. We produce shorts. We produce full length documentaries. Liken it to 30 for 30 on ESPN, but more of like the Bill Simmons-esque story that's really gritty, and we get to the core of the story. And then the way that I differentiate it is that every principle that we work with, it's 100% authentic. And I know that most people say, yeah, of course we're going to tell the true story. There's a big difference in production. We don't have a production partner yet. We may never. I don't know how that's going to go, because I won't tell a story that isn't 100% true to the principal, to the actor, to the entertainer, to the CEO. I won't shoot or direct or anything on a production that's going to just do it for the sake of, well, this will be good on social, or this will be more entertaining to an audience at a film festival. That's not what it's about. Like, yeah, that may get you more clicks, that may get you more revenue, that may get you a better distribution deal, but that's not really right in the principal's eyes. I've had conversations with the athletes that have said to me, Mike, I'm really kind of turned off with doing a documentary because of that. I don't want to have somebody take my life, my experiences, my triumphs, my failures, and then twist it, and it's not
They
real.
would do that?
And then,
So, yeah, I'm just sorry to interrupt, but in terms of
yeah,
like a documentary, obviously all of us have watched them, be that for whatever personality, but also athletes. So you basically say,
yeah,
depending on the production team, it could easily happen that we twist and turn a little bit more to get, I don't know, a certain audience or tell a certain
yep,
story a little different. How does that work? What
yeah,
does that
yeah.
come about?
That's the production team. A lot of times a production team, house, company will go to an athlete and say, "Man, I love your story. I think it's amazing. It needs to be told." And of course, an athlete's, "Hey, yeah, great." And 9 times out of 10, they're not even worried about the back end money, because again, most athletes have been pretty good with their money, or they've invested it like with yourself. And they really, hey, I want a second shot at fame and fortune. I want, I have another business that needs exposure. So they're more invested in that. They're more invested in being on camera and being professional. And look, most things are unscripted. There's an outline written around it. So we're going to figure out, a kind of like reality type of show where we have a pathway of sorts, but nothing is going to be scripted to the point where they have to memorize lines. There just might be segments. And then that's when the post production comes in, and then there's just, and this, whether it's known or not to the general public, the editing room is where everything happens, that good, bad, or indifferent. They can change a production from 100% authentic truthfulness to a 55% truthfulness with a whole lot of dramatized stuff that maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, maybe there was something that we blew out of proportion, but but I've heard it literally from the mouths of dozens and dozens of athletes that they were turned off with documentary storytelling for that very reason. And I'm sure it's across, documentaries in general. When you watch a good one, you can say, oh, that was kind of one sided to a portion of it, or it's very hard to, it's very hard, and maybe that's just because of the business too, for somebody to be unbiased. And we're all that way, whether we're, it's because we're Knicks fans and we that's all we root for, or we're Jets fans, whatever it might be. Being biased is just, I guess, part of life. So I try to take that out of it.
So, how many of your stuff are you coming up with an idea and hunting down the right athlete to fill that spot? And how much is an athlete coming to you and then you being creative and saying, okay, let's go this direction or this
Yeah.
direction?
Yeah, well, since we're a new company, we're doing most of the pitching. But I will tell you, it's always up to the athlete what the story revolves around. And so we have an audit that we will do. We'll scrape to find out everything and anything that whether the athlete wants us to know or doesn't want us to know. We put it in their hands. So I call it the North Star. What do you want this production to look like? What do you want it to sound like? What do you want to talk about? What don't you want to talk about? Because again, even if there's something you want to avoid, it's probably going to be known. It's going to come out in the wash. The internet is forever. It just is what it is. But again, we're getting to the point with the more and more productions that we do that we are going to start to become, much more choosy. And that's just because the integrity of the project, the legacy. I'm a wholehearted believer that every person has the documentary worth telling. Some are just 5 minutes. Some are 15, some are 95 minutes. So it really just depends on that. And again, it's the nature of the beast. Not everything is going to be, worthy of a distributor, whether it's a film festival like a Tribeca or a TIFF or a Paramount Plus or a streaming service like, Peacock or whatever. But again, the fast channels, the opportunities to post stuff on YouTube, it has changed the game forever because again, it's the world's biggest search engine. It's Google. It's doing things for people that, were not possible 10, 15 years ago. So there is an opportunity to get your content out there. It just depends on the reach.
Okay, so, but at some point, I'm assuming you're making a decision saying, okay, do we want to create 100 short, films and just get them out so people start hearing our name? Or how do you, in a sense, think outside the box? How are you
Yeah,
unique? Because obviously there's a million documentaries out there. So what's going to grab the public's attention and stuff. So what are
sure.
you doing to be different? you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, you will put together a slate of films. So we'll let's say we have 5 athletes that we feel are all um in a similar boat, and our thing is the pivot, the career, the second arc of where they're going. And and again, so every slate kind of has a link theme to it. All these athletes are going through something different or coming out of something different. So for us, that's how we'll present it. And then that gives us more power to go into negotiations with a distribution partner and say, well, we've got 5 slates with X, Y, and Z principle. There's always a dollar amount associated with it, whether we've produced it and we are ready to recoup investment, or we haven't produced it and we have a full outline and we have our charts and our graphs and everything of what we expect on an ROI. That's another way to do it, a pre-production. It just depends, but I am not one that is just going to produce content to produce content for the sake of it. There's too much content out there. Obviously, my company, we are differentiating ourselves because of the legacy. So we are a film and media company, but everything is advisory led, which means everything has a strategy to it. So even if you're a high school kid looking for a scholarship, you're a collegian that's looking for an NIL deal, or you're looking to go in the transfer portal, you're a guy that's 2 years in the league, 2 years about to exit the league, everything that we do is built for that legacy because again there's never a perfect time to start your legacy, but actually it's today because again I liken it to 30 for 30 with the last dance of Michael Jordan. If the Bulls didn't have the hindsight to shoot everything that they did back in 96, we would have had Scotty and Michael and Steve Kerr and all these guys talking about it. It's cool, but we actually got to see it and live it. And we thought we were in the locker room with that guy that kind of looked like Larry Bird, where he's throwing dice and he went like this. Like that to me is the coolest part because I was a kid and I remember watching it. certainly wasn't there, but now I can kind of be like, man, I kind of got to live that over again. And that to me is what we're trying to instill in the next generation, or generations that, guys that just are kind of out of the league now. Do it now, capture the footage, and then you can work with people like us to make it actually cohesive into a storyline.
So from a timing perspective, you would say again, the right time to start was yesterday, right? It doesn't matter the level
Yeah.
you're at, if you're youth. So just again, kind of what they're doing from a practice perspective to be noticed on the field, like in terms of putting tape together. We talked about this many
Yeah.
times, right, Eric? And you're basically saying from your personal branding perspective, make sure to generate that tape, right? Because you never know what that legacy is going to look like, how you're going to tell that story as you go on. Um, could you elaborate a little bit more on the power of storytelling for athletes specifically? Because I feel like, for some reason, what makes an athlete resonate with fans? I always feel in terms of like talking about my core business from a wealth management perspective, same thing I think with Eric, from a health and, chiropractic perspective. Anybody talks about sports, it's an immediate, like they're all interested, especially in this
All right.
country. So
Right.
what is your take in terms of like,
Yeah. No, the fact of the matter is sports storytelling is if not the hottest property right now in all of entertainment. It's right up there. You look at like what F1 did with Netflix, and I think 225% viewership was up because of that, because they put you in the car.
yeah,
Netflix just took on, I think, 5 or 6 sports soccer documentaries specifically because of the World Cup,
yeah,
but it's everywhere. And again, it's because these guys and women, we watch them and we want to be them to a certain extent, and we live and breathe and die through them, like I did with watching the Knicks in the finals, and how
you
again
and I both,
it's like
buddy.
absolutely. I mean, again, we struggled for what 23 years, but since the last time we were in the finals, and here we are, and it had been 53 years. So it, it's a core, it's a song, it's a memory, it's something that stirs in us, that makes us think that wow, it brings us back to a nostalgic place, and that's really what it is for a lot of these guys. It's nostalgia. So when you can, and for us, when we can link on with a player that is at the beginning, and we can now document the whole story, that's something that hasn't, 9 times out of 10 hasn't been done to this point. And we're trying to build fandom, and building that brand is so important because of the age of social media. But that's where social media and storytelling really are two different things. And we're trying to blend them together, because again, if you build for the algorithm, you build for the platform, changes overnight. You can lose thousands of followers. You can be
Mhm.
traded. If you build for your school and then you have to transfer in the portal, now you're no longer a partner essentially of that university, and you've got to build yourself. So when I talk to executives too, I say, you may have an amazing product, but you have to build for yourself, because people are investing in you. They're not
So
investing
authenticity,
per
you're
se.
saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it
Right.
has to be. And that's why we only tell true stories. Because if
Yep.
a CEO gets on there and he's talking, nonsense about a product, people are going to know it. And that's why, hey, I want to become a fan of you. I want to be able to tell the story of you as an evangelist, because I believe in what you're doing. The product is just a byproduct of it. If I don't believe in what you're doing, Eric, if I don't think that you're a good chiropractor or a good dude, why would I go to you just because maybe you're the team chiropractor for the X, Y, and Z team? Like, it's just like, it's a core business thing. It's like, I have to believe, Ronnie, that you know what you're doing with my money. Like, you may have 7 or 8, 9, 10,000 clients, but if you're gonna be willy nilly, why the heck would I do it? I want to know. I believe in Ronnie. I believe in Eric.
Yeah.
I believe in Mike at Afterburn. And again, that's the truth. It's founder led companies, and I tell all these guys, you're a founder. You're a founder of your career, because if you get traded tomorrow, now what? Now you've got to restart from zero on another team? No, you have to have already started that infrastructure from day one, and then it carries over and it carries over and it amplifies. And again,
So
I've had guys tell me, I'm not ready for a documentary. It's, get that out of your head. You don't have to have your full arc. Your career's not over, but it's happening now. So capture it.
All right. So, you don't know this about me, but my background is a lot with baseball. I traded the Dodgers 5 years. I travel with athletes. So Aaron Judge's agent brought me to Scottsdale, and I take care of his players. So the question for you is, like, I got a guy on the Rockies AA team. I fly out once a month with him, and take care of him and everything. And we're hoping he gets called up to the bigs
Sure.
this year. I mean, I say next year, but with the lockout, that's a whole nother
Mm.
issue,
Yeah.
obviously. But do you take a risk and you go for a kid in minor league? And look, you want to document a story of someone struggling? I mean, these guys
Yeah.
get 3,200 a month,
Yeah.
basically. Yes,
Right.
there's a signing bonus that changes and this and that, but do you document a kid like that who may get to the bigs or may not, and now you've invested all this,
Right.
or do you go more for AJ and document what Judge has done already and stuff?
Yeah, and it's a fair question, and an easy portion is to say, well, let's see where a brand partnership can be struck up, because we know that what Aaron Judge can afford, we know what Scott Boras of the world can afford, we know what minor leaguers can afford. So we're not going to go to a minor leaguer and say, well, you have to come out of pocket. But maybe there's something that this player is already doing. Maybe he hopefully already has a brand. Maybe he is posting so that we can, because again, every follower count has a dollar amount attached to it. It may be, may not be right or fair, but unfortunately, that's the way the world of social media and marketing work. So we understand that. Me personally, as a storyteller, I'd rather tell the story of a person that I know less about, because again, you're learning the identity of a person, you're investing in the person, so that when this kid hopefully gets to the show and becomes an all-star, or maybe he doesn't become an all-star, but he is now shown the truth about it's not easy. He's part of the 1%. Even getting to the minor leagues is a 1%. And in my opinion, having played the game to a certain extent, hitting a round ball with a round bat is one of the hardest things to do in sports. So I would prefer to do that, but it's also on the athlete too. Do they want to do it? And I always say that to them. Are you good on camera? Get on camera. Are you a good writer? Get a Substack. Like, show that you have thought leadership. Show that you want to do this. I can't make you do it. I can advise you, and again, that's the company. I can show you the results of what you do if you do it consistency. As my dad always said, that consistency is the key to greatness. It will work, but you've got to want to do it. So if I will invest in you, you better invest in yourself. It's Aaron Judge is a different type of guy. Anybody that's already reached that pinnacle knows what they're doing. They've got people that are a lot higher up and can show them the funds. But I think that's the reason that what we created Afterburn was that if we can use the legends of the game, or people that have been at the top, and we can then have them show the people that are coming up that it is possible if you can just stay focused. And that's not always easy, but you can get there. But you have to take those baby steps. You have to build your brand from A to Z, do the right things, align with the right brands, because not every brand is going to be right for you. It is very possible. And from a storyteller standpoint, I would love to be able to capture that. There's always a financial aspect to it. That's just the way the world is. But that's why we go to endorsements, we go to sponsors, and we see what we can bring, and we see if we can make it happen.
All right.
So you work with the agent or the athlete directly in terms of like help facilitate that? Again, there's obviously funds involved and all that, right?
Right, right. Yeah. Depending on the agency, bigger agent has an
Yeah,
entire department that they have a sponsorship endorsement
sure.
department, and those are great. Some of them don't. Some players,
Yeah,
say, hey, can you do it for me? So, I'm lucky to work with
right.
people that, hey, that's exactly what they do. They'll go out and they'll leverage that to,
Well,
to get the
and
budget for the
either
film.
way, again, even if the agent or agency doesn't bring it up to the athlete, you would encourage the athlete to bring it up to them, right? In terms of, again, building
Oh,
that branding.
right.
On that note, you mentioned a couple of times social media, obviously athlete branding. How should athletes approach social media today? Because I think as much as there's opportunity, there's also risk to that, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
and what
Yeah.
platforms should they? What have you seen work best? I guess it's twofold.
Yeah, the new one, everybody's on LinkedIn, and I love it. It's great. I mean, honestly, it's such a great platform. Aside from sometimes being what does it have? Again, the boosting changes everything. The
Yeah, yeah.
algorithm, that's a whole nother conversation. But having access to these players, I think it's a great step for them to further their brand outside of the sport. So that's key. But yeah, I think using the platform for what it was built, and that just makes sense. Like, we understand the demographics of a Facebook. We know what an X does. We know what an Instagram does. But I will tell you that most players these days that we deal with have a very robust Instagram profile there, because you can, again, you can post photos, you can post carousels, you can post reels, stories, blah, blah, blah. But again, like you said, posting the right things, being careful when you go live. I mean, with some things we saw with again, our beloved Knicks, that maybe they got a little out of control. Hey, who am I to say? But I loved it as a fan. Maybe
Sure.
their agents might not have, but hey, you just gotta be very careful. TikTok is another one. The reach there is right. It's still more of a likely. Let's go. I hate the word to I hate to say that it's going to go viral, but it's much more of the algorithm is more favorable than some of the others, because again, it goes back to, well, how much money are you going to put on Meta? Because if you boost it, it's going to go higher, and that's just the way of the marketing beast that it is. But I would say use the platform for what you're good at. If you're a writer, start a Substack, write on LinkedIn. I mean, those are the things that just use what you know, right? You don't have to always go out and, like, it's great to learn, but if you already are good at something, use the platform that
Yeah.
that works for you.
But when do you say any news is good news, even
Yeah.
bad news? And, because it still gets viewers and
Right.
clicks and all that. At what point are you saying, okay, this went too far, this is not good, and we're dropping everything? I don't want to be even associated with this.
Yeah, and I think that's on the company to, like, look, things are going to happen, that you can do as much due diligence on a player or person as humanly possible. But, there's moments in life where it changes it all. But I think that begins with having an honest discourse and understanding, where have you been, being open. And you can, I mean, if you're a decent judge of character, you can usually tell that there's something a little bit off. There's a gray area. I mean, pretty much it's hard to hide anything these days from the internet, especially if you're a college player, let alone, in the pros itself. So, look, some companies are going to take risks because they do believe in that. Any news is good news, publicity. I don't. There, I've not that I've turned anybody down, but I'm not going to have a second and third conversation if there's already a question mark in my head, because again, I'm trying to promote legacy. You may be the most talented guy in the world. You may run a 4.340. You may be able to hit, 700 home runs. But if there's something in the way that is going to stop you from actually getting to that legacy point, or you actually understanding and acknowledging that, because again, we all have our faults. But if you're not going to come on camera and tell me the truth, why? What are we doing? Why are we wasting our time? Because again, I'm not going to
It's
watch a
gonna come out,
documentary where
right?
somebody. Yeah,
You
I mean,
know.
somebody's going to know
Yeah.
about it. And again,
Yeah.
why? The documentary is supposed to be about the truth, whether it's a
Right.
biased take or an unbiased take. I don't
Yes.
want to spend 45 minutes of my life to just come away with the, what was that about? I hate watching things where there's no conclusion, and I certainly won't produce something like that.
Right.
We've all seen these movies.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
what
I
was that?
mean, and you want to leave it
What's
open
next?
ended, that's fine. I mean, yeah.
Right.
Hey, The Sopranos. Who knows? Yeah, only the creator knows what happened to Tony and the family in the diner. We all have our assumptions, but again, that's a creative choice, and we all have them.
So you mentioned a couple of times again, young athletes, college. Let's talk a little bit about NIL and the impact that it has, and obviously the opportunity it presents for these young athletes as well. Which I would make the argument NIL starts way earlier, before college even. So, have
Yeah.
you seen the landscape, kind of change, and again, opportunities, pitfalls? What is your take?
A lot of money. It's obviously, and again, playing college ball in the 2000s, there was a lot of money then. It was just, it was a hush hush money. So now
Where'd
we
you
know,
go?
we know what's legal. Well, how
What
about
was
Sorry.
that, Eric?
Where'd you go to college?
UNC? Yeah, 2021, 2001 and 2003, and then I finished my actual studies years later at Full Sail University here in Orlando. But yeah, it's to a certain extent, it's made things a little bit more dangerous, right? Because again, these guys now have $200,000 in their bank account at the age of 18 years old, and I can't
Yep.
imagine me ever doing that. I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have bought, a ton of jerseys and a nice car, and then just had some fun. But the thing I will say about it, and it's a thing that I hope that there's some sort of regulation in the future, is this hopping from school to school through the portal. like it may work for the players. You may make $11 million in your sixth year of quarterbacking a team to a national title game. But I just you got to where is the line start to be grayed out that it's only a business. It's like you may have got your degree 2 years ago, but you're still playing a game. I
You're
like
referring to
where is
a certain quarterback at Miami, or you're
maybe. I mean, hey,
okay?
good for him, and
Uh,
I think he'll do well in the league. But it's a little strange for me that you can be a 26-year-old senior. I don't know. And look, I hope he has a great year, a great career
of
in the
course,
NFL and all of that. But
yeah,
yeah, it just it's a lot of money for young people. And I literally just got off a call this afternoon, and the guy said, "I wish I had somebody that would have been able to kind of rein me in because now he has none of that, and he's
mhm,
working a regular job and hates it and we're trying to figure out what's next for him." And I hate to hear that. Like,
yeah,
yes, it's part of my business, but I don't want these guys to be in their early 20s, mid 20s, early 30s and already be going through a midlife crisis. Like that sucks. Like that we want to avoid that. And so like with Antoine Bethea, who we're working with, obviously that's his goal. That's why he's doing what he's doing. That's why I believe in him and he believes in us because we can change that narrative. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be everybody, but hopefully we can get enough of our word out through our films, through our socials, through everything that we're doing. That hey, let's pump the brakes a little bit here. And and that becomes with look representation. You guys know the school itself, coaches. There needs to be a lot more. A lot more, whether it's the NCAA or
yeah.
somebody, and now we're seeing VC firms literally get into college sports. There needs to be a little bit more regulation on this. Otherwise, where does it stop? High school kids are going to get paid, and then 8-year-olds are going to get paid, and I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's the Wild West, and it's a complete shit show. And
Yeah,
honestly, I think it's doing such more of a disservice to the athlete from an education standpoint. I
right.
think you're going to get these parents who look. I think travel ball's already out of control with
Yeah,
for a number of reasons, but you add this in and parents are going to push the kids, and now
yeah,
it's kind of like, oh, you know what, forget playing pro. If you could sign and get a $500,000 even, or a $2 million thing out of high school to college, oh, we're
yeah,
good. I mean, it's
yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
done.
It yeah, I mean, it used to be, "Hey, I got a free ride to learn. I got a degree." That was enough to go to school, but, that has definitely fallen down the wayside, and that's unfortunate. I mean, but that's the NCAA's, that's their thing, that's their bag, and now they've gotta figure it out, and how do you instill that value that seems to have gone the wayside? I liken it to, certain well, we don't wanna talk about our players gambling. Well, every time you turn on a commercial break, there's a DraftKings commercial, or there's, I mean, it's you can't have it both ways. It's one or the other. You don't want guys gambling, obviously, to corrupt the sport, but you're also going to show me you can now bet 50 in all 50 states on your phone. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a slippery slope, and and now you're just introducing it at a younger age, and it's pretty
Well,
wild. And
that's all about the money. And I mean,
yeah,
even with politics, being a hypocrite at the end of the day.
yeah,
You say this, but your past does this. And it's like,
right,
it's bullshit, you
yeah,
know?
Are
yeah,
you saying
no, for
there's
sure.
people that are hypocritical in politics, Eric?
Oh, there could be a couple here and there.
You come to mind. In terms of like, what advice would you give to parents, when it comes to NIL? Is there anything they can do to protect their kids? Or maybe sometimes based on the stories you see, could they be part of the problem sometimes?
Yeah, they usually are. Don't make it about yourself. It's not about you. Whether you had your day in the sun or not.
Yeah.
Look, most kids love their parents and want to be able to support them later in life and to buy them a house and all that good stuff. But there's a lot of pressure. I mean, I have a 7-year-old daughter who's in my mind is a fantastic soccer player, and they already got her playing with the 8 and 9-year-olds, and I'm just like, man, are we gonna burn this kid out by the time she's like 13? It's a real thing. And I think a lot of parents, like you said, are just like, hey, just get to school, make a couple mil, get a degree, and you're good. You're good for life. You don't have to worry. Yeah, maybe that's good for some people, but everybody's different, and I'm never going to tell anybody how to parent their own child. It's just again, the more access you have to things, the more potential for things to arise, and college is a weird
Right.
enough place, and it's a weird
Yeah.
enough time, and I get it's a time to figure yourself out, but figuring yourself out when you can only afford pizza and beer is different than when you can go to a club and buy it out for the night or go buy a Lambo. It's a different world. So yeah, I mean, I just hope that the parents and agents, especially NIL agents, really do have the best interest in all of these kids,
Mhm.
because again, they're still kids. Whether you're 18 or 21, there's only certain things you can do in the United States of America legally. So I would just remember that.
Yeah. Do you
Good
see
point.
maybe do you have a few examples of like stories where in terms of like storytelling, again, film, media, like that is a great example. Like maybe a couple of like, hey, this individual, again, athlete, entertainer, whatnot, did a really good job with that.
Yeah, I'll say like in general, Netflix does a good job on the untold stories. Those are really,
Yep.
really good because again, like the Portland Trailblazer one, like we knew a lot about those guys. We knew their nicknames and we knew what they
The
were all about and what
Trailblazers?
was going. Yeah, I mean, cool
Yeah.
nickname, but probably
Yeah,
not
I
great
think it's
for
cool, but yeah.
PR. Yeah, I mean, but again, like the stories that you can tell, and then you do understand where they are today, what maybe transpired that in the locker room then, the Gilbert Arenas story, what transpired
Yeah.
to today and how these guys are now trying to make a comeback. So again, their second arc, and they do a good job of capturing that, is really nice. And I think it kind of comes full circle. It puts a nice bow on a lot of those stories. But again, not every production house is going to want to do that. There's a lot of productions, depending on again budget too, that they're just trying to go for. Let's get in. Let's tell a very dramatic story, and then we'll leave the viewer with some subtitles on screen. And here's what's happened to that person, and it's like, okay, well, we just gave up. We just, we mailed it in for the final act. But yeah, some do it better than others. Amazon does a great job, especially the in season series that they do, really, really good. I mean, most of them, look, these companies know what they're doing. They know how to tell a story, but a lot of times it's always maybe we need to twist it a certain way or we need to tell it a certain way. I just want to give the power back to the principal, the person that actually lived it. I think that's really it's just the right thing to do.
Right.
How
Again, for
how much of a everything is documented by our phones now, basically.
Yeah.
So, a lot of these kids, they live on that. They got all these videos and
Sure.
whatnot. Are you pulling from a lot of their personal stuff and adding it in or not as much?
We can. That's a great thing is, we're not going to be with them 24/7. So, again, I'd like to empower. I like to say, hey, again, the iPhone 17 is an amazing machine. If you know how to, point and click vertically most of the time, we can make it work. And I like stories that you can have a portion of it via your phone, or you can have a portion of it that shots in with 16:9 on a red camera or black magic or anything like that. And again, it makes the viewer feel like, hey, I'm actually there with them for a little
Right.
bit. So I think that that's pretty cool. But again, not everybody does that. I personally don't love reenactments. That's just been something that like it kind of makes my skin crawl when I see a cheesy way of it done. And, and even micro dramas are huge right now. $200 million Fox just put into a micro drama company, and because again, the attention span of most viewers is a minute, maybe two. But again, you can also put sponsors on there, and you can tell stories, and I feel like there's a lot that can be done, and hopefully, that's a space we're looking at, but looking at doing it our own way. But yeah, anytime that I can get an athlete to actually tell their true self without a camera crew in front of them, everybody freezes when the red light's on, or everybody freezes when the camera's on. But if they're doing this when they're in their room, they're in their dorm, I think you're going to get more, you're going to get a real authentic telling than if it were, me sitting in front of a camera trying to get,
Right.
give me more emotion. Like they're not actors. And some of them are really good on camera, but they're not actors. They're not trained. They can do on camera training, but it's different for somebody that is media trained than a kid that is just, trying to be himself.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
particular athlete brand that comes to mind? If I asked you, hey, what's the best athlete brand right now? What comes to my mind?
That's a good question. A lot of companies are trying to reinvent themselves. Nike is trying to redo it. You can
Yeah,
see with all this kind of like FIFA content that's out right now,
yeah,
and all the legends of the game that they're bringing back, and people that like Zlatan have an amazing,
yeah.
I guess way
Yeah,
of
he's on
of
Fox. Yeah, yeah,
living. Yeah, I mean he's great, and Thierry Henry and all these people that we grew up with, and that's who they're looking at. They're trying to get a certain audience. But I look at even like certain teams that you look at like I was gonna say San Diego Chargers, the LA Chargers,
yeah,
how they're the way that it seems like they start the trends. And then you see every other social media team across all sports doing the same thing. Whether it's I'm bringing a baked good to you, or can you sign this picture? Like we've all seen them on TikTok and Instagram, and they're great. But it seems like certain teams are the trendsetters, and certain teams just jump on a trend, and they're very distinctional. And you'll see. I mean, I think the LA Chargers social team has won dozens and dozens of awards, and rightfully so, because they do a good job. Because I really feel like whether it's Los Angeles or the people involved, are storytellers at heart, and they know how to actually pull something out of the players and actually
mhm,
shoot it to a point where it keeps you intrigued, whether it's for a minute, 5 minutes, or even maybe a longer form type. But there's a lot of really good storytelling too that people just don't have access to, and that's why the Mr. Beasts of the world are, look, they're one in a million, but it's kind of changed the way it's changed the way YouTube is. And now we're starting to finally go back to raw storytelling, which is something that I love, because you
yeah,
can get a kid with a camera to do it again. It doesn't have to be overly produced. I don't need CGI. I don't need you to spend $100,000 on an episode on a sound stage. Like, just give me a real story about a real person. And that's why I really think sports docs, sports films, and just sports footage in general is being purchased at an exponential rate right now, because again, we live and breathe with these athletes. We maybe want to be them. um, they are just human. They're just the 1%. But if we can live and breathe with them over the course of an 82 game schedule, and they make us feel like we were actually at the victory parade, that's why they're being compensated so well. So yeah, it's a great time for social. It's a great time for storytelling in general. And I think the more that we can focus on that, and the less Hollywood blockbusters of sorts, because that Hollywood in itself, everything is a remake, everything is a part
yeah.
seven. Yeah, I hope we can get back to new ideas and new storytelling, and that's why I'm really focused on that portion of it, is bringing something new to sports media. Has been around 1,000 years, it'll be around for 1,000 more, but we're trying to pick out a niche. And even the athletes I speak with is, what are you passionate about? Because if you're not passionate about it, it's going to come out on camera, and
Right.
there's no point. So don't do it. Do something else that you actually love. And that would be my advice to anybody in any profession. If you're not passionate about it, but you need to pivot, don't just pivot to something that's going to make money, because you might make a bunch of bucks in a quick amount of time. But eventually, it's going to show through that it's just not real.
So authenticity is key in terms of, like, again, telling the story. If it's good, bad, indifferent, whatnot, however it's
Right.
perceived. And again, as you said, from a
Absolutely.
branding perspective, you would suggest for all the audience that's listening, in terms of do it yesterday, right? Get started
Yeah.
yesterday, one way or the other. Okay, okay,
Absolutely. No, there's no time like the present.
cool. So, Mike, normally we kind of finish things off as Eric has what's called the walk off 10. Basically rapid fire questions here, yes or
Okay.
no, one word answer, and all that stuff. Eric, what you
Uh,
got?
all right. True or false? You judge an athlete's brand before you judge their stats.
Mm, false. I
Okay.
think, yeah, I don't. I don't care if the guy's never played. Wait, I don't even know if I'm supposed to answer it any deeper, but yeah, I'll just say no,
Oh,
false.
yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
One word. What's harder to manage, an ego or an algorithm?
Oh, an algorithm for sure.
Yeah, you think the ego's easy?
No, it's not easy at
So you
all. But
said
I
what's
think you can
worse, right?
reason. You can reason with an ego. You can't reason with an algorithm because they're changing on a daily
Oh,
basis.
yeah, ever. Um, all right, true or false? You've had to tell someone, please don't post that.
Oh, more times than I can probably recall. Yeah, because again, like I said, not all content's good content.
Yeah. One word, NIL in one word.
Dangerous.
Yeah. I was going to say Wild West. Yeah.
It's two words,
True or
right?
false? A player's Instagram can be worth more than their jump shot.
True, especially over the life of their life.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a follow-up question on that later. Go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
The most overrated social media platform.
Mm.
MySpace.
Yeah, the most overrated. I'm gonna say Facebook, just because it was once amazing. It was the first, but now it's just a pure moneymaker, and it just doesn't serve its purpose anymore.
But it's still known as the old person's social media, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if you've got an audience there, yeah, if you're a guy that's 50, 55, and you had an amazing career in the 80s, you're gonna have a great audience there. But yeah, for kids today, they probably don't even have a login.
Yeah. Right. All right. True or false? You've ever watched an entire sporting event just for the content opportunities?
False. Nah, I can't. If I'm not invested in it because of something, especially if 9 times out of 10, it's got to be a team or a player that I love.
Okay. The first thing you notice when meeting a new athlete.
It's their demeanor. I mean, they look you in the eyes, a firm handshake. It's like the old things that your dad taught you. It still holds up to today.
Yeah. All right. And what's the secret ingredient to a great personal brand?
Consistency. I like you literally it's back to the algorithm. You cannot restart the algorithm once a month because you're doing yourself such a disservice. If you post, and I tell CEOs all the time, if you're going to post on a Thursday, you better post every Thursday from now until the cows come home because you are literally training that algorithm. As much as I could train Ronnie, it's so much harder to train an algorithm because one, it's got to just get into the cadence. It's like SEO. Anybody that knows SEO, it's a long game.
Yeah.
You've got to figure out how to manipulate it, and then of course once you've figured it out, the algorithm changes. So again, it's hard, but if you're consistent and you can do that on multiple platforms, and I would also say, do not give me the same content on every platform. You've just lost me because why would I go to your Twitter page, X, that if you also have it on your Facebook page or you have it on your Instagram page, split it up. Again, use the platform for what it's best at. Post videos on YouTube, post photos on Instagram. Like I know they can do it all, but use it for what it really was built for, and the algorithm will traditionally reward you for it.
But couldn't that also be because of the audience that uses different platforms where TikTok is
Yeah,
different? So yes, even though I'm sending the same message, I'm sending it to a different audience, or no. So
yeah, well, you're correct, but you almost need to
yeah,
build in brand awareness through each
yeah,
audience, right? So like yeah, TikTok is
yeah,
traditionally younger Gen Z,
yeah.
but if I don't want to do TikTok, they'll find me on Instagram. Like they will, they're there. And if they know that like, oh, Ronnie doesn't post on TikTok because he just doesn't want to have the hassle of posting on
Yeah.
TikTok, posting something different. He only has time for one or two platforms. Then
Yeah.
we'll follow him on Twitter, X, whatever it
Oh,
is,
okay.
because he gives me value. And that's what it is. It's a value proposition.
Nice.
Interesting.
Well,
The
thank
other
you
question I
so
wanted to follow
much.
up on. So, sorry, the follow up I had, because you're mentioning in terms of like, would you agree that it's not necessarily the best athlete that has the best social media branding? Because often what I see, I'll feel like there's guys out there that just have a great social media following. That doesn't mean they're the best basketball player. Do you see that a
Absolutely.
lot?
All the
Oh,
time. Take your favorite retired player and look them up on Instagram and look at their following, and you'll be shocked that it's probably like 500,000, maybe 1.1 million. And it's pretty cool because it shows that they're still doing stuff, and they may
yeah.
not have been the best player, but maybe they were in the league 10, 11 years, and again, they've got value, and now they're making money just on the posts that they're posting. So again, that's because they've built up their brand, and it's making them money, and then they can use that to go get speaking engagements and all these other activations. So look,
Yeah.
if you're Aaron Judge, your following is probably 12, 13 plus million. And it's always going to be there no matter if you get traded to the Tokyo Giants, which is not going to happen. But
That's not gonna.
but again, like it's cool. It is cool to see that you don't have to be the greatest ball player in the world, but if you're likable, if you've got good content and people really like follow you from your very early days on, they're going to stick with you. It doesn't matter if you get traded to whomever.
All right, last question. Who's the greatest Nick ever? I know you and I are both Knicks fans, so that's the last question.
And I would call them an old head would want me to say Walt Clyde Frazier. Um, the younger me would say Patrick Ewing,
I'm with you.
but today it's
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
build the
It's
man a
just a
statue.
difficult. It's such a difficult question to answer, in my opinion, because again, if you look back in terms of when they beat the Lakers in '73,
Yeah,
I think it was it the Lakers in '73 or '71. I don't know because I wasn't
three,
around,
three.
but
Yeah, me neither. Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, again, Clyde Frazier. But then in the '90s, nobody was not. Even before we won, I think it was Patrick Ewing as far as I'm concerned. But that might have to do
yeah.
in terms of the time we grew up in. But yeah,
Well,
King
again, you
Bronson.
take MJ out of the equation.
Yeah.
Patrick might have won a couple, but again, timing is everything, and
Yep.
that's why I'd like you look at what Brunson was able to do, where he started, getting out of
Phenomenal.
Dallas. They built a team around him, and again, he's the most humble superstar I've ever seen. He's perfect for New York. A little bit like Eli Manning in the way that like he doesn't need or want the exposure. He's just
Yeah.
happy to be there. But
Yep.
but this guy, everybody talks about him. He doesn't talk about himself,
Yeah.
and I love that. I wish there was a million players like him.
I mean, again, you're talking about branding. It's the first thing he did. They win it all. The first thing he did before he did anything else, he shook the head coach's hand, and I think that tells you a lot in terms of who that is, right?
Yep,
So,
classy guy. I mean, he's a coach's son, right? I mean, it
yep.
goes a long way. So,
Yep.
hey, let's hope the Knicks can run it back. But there's a lot of good teams in the NBA. There's a lot of good
Oh yeah.
parity. But it's a
Yeah.
good time it's a good thing for the city of New York. And it just shows that you don't have to be arrogant and throw people to the ground to win the NBA finals. So,
Agreed.
you know,
Yes. Yeah. It's not
you know.
normal that they would talk about a likable team, it being a New York team, right?
For maybe
Uh,
the first time ever. I
yeah.
honestly, maybe the first time ever.
That's
So
a good
I
one.
love it.
Anyway,
Yeah,
Mike, I appreciate it very much. Thank you. In terms of
pleasure.
like, I think from a business
Thank
perspective, I think
you.
the audience learned a lot. So thanks for
Awesome.
being on.
No,
Thank
happy to be here, and thanks for all you guys do. Keep it going.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.